Understanding procrastination and its impact. Imagine yourself sitting at your desk. An important task awaits you, but instead of starting, you've been staring at the screen for 45 minutes. You've checked your emails, scrolled through social media, and reorganized your files. Anything but tackling the work in front of you. Welcome to the world of procrastination, that silent trap that keeps us stuck in inaction. But have you ever considered the real impact of this habit on your life? The time we lose on average, procrastination steals 218 minutes per day, which amounts to about 55 days per year. Imagine everything you could accomplish with those 2 extra months each year, and you're not alone. 95% of people admit to procrastinating regularly. 20% identify as chronic procrastinators. This habit affects not only our productivity, but also our self-esteem, mental health, and ability to achieve our goals. Why do we procrastinate? Procrastination is not just laziness. It's an internal conflict between what we know we need to do and what we feel like doing in the moment. Here are two examples to illustrate. Marie and her unfinished garden. Marie, 35, dreams of creating a vegetable garden. She's bought seeds and a guidebook, but every weekend she finds an excuse not to start. Her procrastination seeps into other areas of her life, like household chores and her relationships. Causes: feeling overwhelmed by her responsibilities, anxiety over a complex task, seeking easy distractions, e.g. scrolling on her phone. Consequences: stress, guilt, and lower self-esteem. Important projects left undone. Thomas and his dream snack shop. Thomas, 43, dreams of opening a snack shop. Despite his culinary talent and encouragement from loved ones, he keeps delaying the project out of fear of failure. Causes: fear of risk. What if it doesn't work out? Paralysis in the face of the unknown. Consequences: regret and frustration over lost time. Transforming procrastination with Stoicism. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, offers tools to overcome procrastination. Here are 3 key principles. 1. The dichotomy of control. Learn to distinguish between what is within your control and what is not. For Thomas, he can control his research, create a business plan, and test his recipes. However, he cannot control customers' reactions or unforeseen circumstances. Action. Focus on actions within your control to reduce anxiety and move forward. 2. Negative visualization. Imagine the worst-case scenario if you don't act. Example: Thomas could picture himself in 10 years, still stuck in an office job, regretting that he never took the chance. Impact. This method motivates action before it's too late. 3. Amor fati, love of fate. Accept circumstances as they are. For Thomas, entrepreneurship involves mistakes and adjustments. Every failure is a lesson and an opportunity for growth. Putting these principles into practice. Here are some practical exercises. 1. Break tasks down. Divide a large project into smaller, manageable steps. Example: to start her garden, Marie could first prepare the soil, then plant just one type of seed. 2. Set time limits. Use a timer to work on a task for 25 minutes. Pomodoro technique. Take a break, then repeat. 3. Prioritize. Identify your 3 most important tasks each day and start with those. 4. Reflect on your values. Ask yourself, why is this important? How does this task align with my long-term goals? Procrastination, a hidden opportunity. Procrastination might seem like a weakness, but with tools like those offered by Stoicism, you can turn it into a strength. Every action, no matter how imperfect, is a step toward a more productive and fulfilling life. So what will be your first small victory today? Create stimulating habits. Tasks can be approached in a way that fosters a kind of personal routine, not too rigid, but regular enough so that certain actions become almost habitual. This reminds me of the Stoic idea about the importance of small, repeated actions. Epictetus often spoke of daily training, not about grand heroic acts or radical overnight transformations, but about small, consistent efforts. Every small step, no matter how simple, builds a habit, and over time, it becomes second nature. What's important here is that regularity is not about turning yourself into a productivity machine. It's about creating an environment that supports you and naturally drives you to action. You can start with very small commitments. For instance, if you struggle to get to work in the morning, you could decide to spend just 5 minutes on an easy task right at the start of the day. Just 5 minutes, nothing more. It may not seem like much, but that small act triggers something, and often once you start, you end up doing far more than just those 5 minutes. The goal is to create a rhythm that works for you, not to force yourself to be perfectly productive. This rhythm is an ally against procrastination because it reduces the inner struggle you feel when faced with something unpleasant in the moment. You stop fighting the task because it has become a natural part of your daily life, like any other habit. It's also important to recognize that your rhythm might change depending on the phase of your life. And that's okay. What matters is not being too hard on yourself if some days don't go as planned. Even Marcus Aurelius spoke of moments when we stumble, but he also said what matters is how we get back up and start again the next day. So even if you miss a day, the key is not to get discouraged. Each day is a fresh chance to start over, gently and without pressure. The reverse deadline technique. Here we come to a technique I particularly like, and that might surprise you. The reverse deadline technique. A key factor in procrastination is often the lack of urgency. You've probably noticed how suddenly productive you become when a deadline looms close. This is a common phenomenon because our minds respond to the pressure to get things done. But what if you could create this pressure sooner, instead of waiting for the actual deadline? This is where the reverse deadline technique comes into play. Instead of waiting for the real due date, you set yourself a much closer deadline. For example, imagine you have a task due in 3 weeks. Instead of telling yourself you have plenty of time, you set a goal to finish it in just 3 days. This might sound surprising, but this little psychological trick works wonders. Even though the new date is artificial, it creates the same sense of urgency as if it were real. Your mind immediately focuses on the task at hand because it senses a pressing need to act. As a result, you work faster, more efficiently, and with greater concentration. Let's take a concrete example. Imagine you have to write a report for work and you have 3 weeks to do it. Like most people, you'll likely think each day, I'll start tomorrow, or I still have time. But if you decide to finish the report in 3 days, your approach completely changes. Suddenly, you prioritize this task, push aside distractions, and work with a clear objective in mind. What's surprising is that even though this deadline is artificial, it has the same effect as a real one. Your mind shifts into action mode, and you're far more focused. Often, you'll finish the task much faster than expected, leaving yourself plenty of time afterward to refine your work without the last-minute panic. This trick is used by many productive people, often without them even realizing it. By creating shorter deadlines, you stop wasting time in indecision. This technique applies to everyday life as well. For example, there are likely small tasks you keep putting off, like tidying a room or answering emails. Instead of telling yourself you'll do it when you have time, give yourself a short deadline, like 30 minutes, to get it done. You'll be surprised at how this self-imposed pressure pushes you to act quickly and efficiently. Over time, you train your mind to act without waiting until you're backed into a corner. The rule of 2 minutes, overcoming procrastination. Effectively. Now let's move on to a simple technique you can use right away to make the most of cumulative effects. The 2-minute rule. It's very straightforward. Whenever you feel like procrastinating or struggling to start a task, commit to spending just 2 minutes on it, no more. Why 2 minutes? Because it's such a short amount of time that it's hard to find an excuse not to do it. Often, once the 2 minutes are up, you'll already be so immersed in the action that you'll naturally keep going. But even if you stop after just 2 minutes, at least you've made a little progress. And that's the essence of cumulative effects. Those small daily efforts build up over time to produce big results. Think of reading, for example. If you read just 2 pages a day, you'll end up finishing several books in a year. Or imagine taking 2 minutes each day to tidy a small corner of your workspace. By the end of the week, you'll likely have reorganized the entire area without even realizing it. The secret is not to underestimate the power of these small moments. By repeating these efforts daily, they accumulate and create lasting, profound changes. That's exactly the principle of cumulative effects. It doesn't matter if you take just one small step today, because tomorrow another step will follow, and then another, until you've achieved far more than you thought possible. So the next time you feel stuck on a task you keep putting off, think about the 2-minute rule. It's a simple but incredibly effective tool for overcoming procrastination and harnessing